A presentation on the book Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. When it comes down to making decisions, whether it be between houses, spouses, or just our morning cup of coffee, we as humans always act wisely, logically, and rationally, don't we? Dan Ariely, acclaimed professor of psychology and behavioral economics at Duke University, claims otherwise. In his book, he attempts to refute the common assumption that we are all fundamentally rational, and instead suggests that it is our systematic mistakes that make us predictable. Ariely distinguishes between the world of standard economics and the world of behavioral economics, and each one's perception of rationality. He writes, "Standard economics assumes that we are rational, that we know all the pertinent information about our decisions and can calculate the value of the different options we face, learning from the mistakes with the help of market forces." But behavioral economics believes that we are far less rational in our decision-making than standard economic theory assumes, and are susceptible to irrelevant influences from our environment. Such forces are outlined throughout his book. Specifically, emotions, relativity, and social norms are discussed as having significant influence on our behavior. Ariely begins his book with a chapter on the truth about relativity. Ultimately, he believes that everything is relative and that we are always looking at the things around us in relation to others. It's the reason why we compare salaries, vacations, wines, and why these two blue circles look different but are actually the same size. We view goods in comparison to other goods, anchor ourselves to our original choices and decisions, and most importantly, are often unaware that we're doing it. As consumers, our adherence to the ideas of relativity affect our decision-making when purchasing goods. Take the story of James's Sale, for example, an Italian diamond dealer who acquired a great supply of black pearls and wished to sell them for profit. His only problem? At the time, there was no market for such black pearls, and his attempts to sell them failed. However, after going back to the drawing board, a sale developed a new strategy. He asked a popular gemstone dealer to advertise his black pearls in his store at a ridiculously high price, and paid a high-end magazine to run an ad for them next to pages of diamonds, rubies, and emeralds. Suddenly, the black pearls were flying off the shelves. They suddenly seemed more desirable among the other fancy gems, which attracted the attention and money of consumers who thought relatively instead of rationally. Ariely also details a number of experiments that relate to the idea of anchors, and to explain that concept, let's pretend we're taking part in his experiment to MIT students. You are presented with various products. He included an upscale box of Belgian chocolates and a bottle of 1996 red wine, but let's also add a nice pair of wireless earbuds and a pair of new Nike running shoes. Now, think of the last two digits of your social security number and write it down. Would you be willing to pay that much for each product? Mine is high, so I say no, no, yes, yes. But now we get to the anchoring. In part 2, we're asked how much we would pay as a bid for each of these products. If we were actually the MIT students, Ariely would collect our results. After analysis, he found that the digits from the Social Security number served as anchors, meaning the students with the high-ending Social Security digits bid the highest in part 2, and the students with the lowest ending numbers bid lowest. Here are the results. You can clearly see the difference. So what does this mean? It supports the idea of anchoring. When we are given an initial price, it sticks with us and affects our thoughts towards cost and willingness to pay in the future. It is the power of the first decision, and it's at times both subliminal and irrational. Social norms are another force that leads humans to irrational behaviors. Conforming to a norm is something we're all used to but might not notice. If you're at a business dinner, for example, no one will want to take the last piece of sushi off the plate, or repeat what someone else has already ordered off the menu. But Ariely extends the idea of social norms further. According to standard economic theory, people work for and want money. We try to be economically efficient with our resources balanced so that we receive payment for our work and compensation for time spent working. However, Ariely specifies that this is only relevant when market norms are making the rules, arguing that there are circumstances when people are happy to do things, but not when they are getting paid to do them. For example, if you offered your mother-in-law a $100 bill for cooking everyone Thanksgiving dinner, or insisted your neighbors take a wad of cash in place of a hospitality gift, they would probably think you're rude. To explain, Ariely distinguishes two categories: social norms, which include favors and friendly requests, such as helping change a tire or carrying a sofa, and also market norms, which includes wages, prices, rents, and interest. Throughout many more experiments, Ariely explains the key differences between the two norms. For instance, his studies show that participants who are asked to work for a low payment of 50 cents at a task work considerably less efficiently than participants who are asked to perform the task for free as a favor. And when chocolates are given out for free, people passing by politely took one or two, but when the price was raised to 10 cents, students suddenly would buy handfuls. What does this show? When money becomes involved, we tend to switch from the politeness and friendliness of social norms to the business and practicality of market norms. Once market norms enter our considerations, the social norms depart. It is a delicate balance, and one we should be aware of if we believe that we can benefit from the positive advantages of social norms. Throughout the entire book, Ariely demonstrates the effects of emotions on our behavior. For example, how our decisions can change based on our excitement, expectations, or integrity at any given moment. An experiment at Berkeley demonstrated the effects of strong emotions on rationality. A group of young men were asked in a normal state to predict how attractive they would find different sexual acts when aroused. Then they were asked to rate the activities in an actual state of sexual arousal. The results were clear and consistent. Each question was rated considerably more attractive when participants were sexually aroused, with percent increase ranging from 18 to 420%, implying that humans are not only affected by strong emotions, but unable to predict the extent of this effect. We are also affected by expectations. Aren't we more likely to appreciate a world-class violinist at a fancy concert in Carnegie Hall than if you were busking in a subway station? Ariely's studies showed that students who were poured free coffee from glass containers said they would pay a higher price for it than those who were served from the same coffee from styrofoam cups, and people who were told that a beer was infused with vinegar after they had drank it were more likely to purchase and enjoy a glass than those who had been informed of its content before. In most cases, our expectations directly affect our perceptions. Our decisions can also change based on our subconscious feelings, such as our awareness of integrity and honor. In a particularly interesting experiment, two groups of students were given a test and an opportunity to cheat, with their results then compared to a control group. However, one of the two groups was asked to list as many of the 10 Commandments as they could remember before taking the test. The results, Ariely found, were startling. The group who had not been asked to list the 10 Commandments had cheated to raise their scores an average 33%, but the second group had not cheated at all. The group who had been asked to list the 10 Commandments had the exact same average score as the control group that had no means of cheating. The purpose of Ariely's many experiments was to prove that in most areas of life, our subconscious psychological feelings are the acting forces behind our decision-making, and they often don't point us in the rational direction. This leads us to make irrational decisions, and the understanding of such, he argues, is the difference between standard economics and behavioral economics. Through demonstrating the effects of relativity, social norms, and human emotions on our reason and decision-making, Ariely shows that we as humans are not always logical and efficient, which makes us, in turn, predictably irrational.